ABC 4 News at 10, close to home.
Speaking of Hollywood, Hollywood is taking the Mountain Meadows massacre. That's the attack, of course, we know, on the Arkansas wagon train by Mormons and Paiutes. And they're making a movie out of it.
ABC 4's Brent Hunsaker tells us why this movie may be offensive to Mormons with its portrayal of their pioneer prophet.
Yeah, the massacre was without question the darkest day in Utah history, and the movie, September Dawn, is going to lay the blame for that dark day at the feet of Brigham Young. But critics warn that this movie, which is billed as historical fiction, is a lot of fiction and very little history.
I am the voice of God, and anyone who doesn't like it will be hewn down.
Hollywood's latest version of Brigham Young.
God has revealed to me
Tyrannical,
that I have the right and the power
bloodthirsty,
to call down curses on anyone who tries to invade our lands.
He was directly involved and ordered it.
The documents just don't point in that direction.
Mormons? Religious fanaticism is an interesting thing.
Do your duty!
They're using a religion to justify murder.
After 150 years, the wounds are still open.
An awful slaughter happened here on September 11th, 1857. Of that there can be no doubt. At least 120 men, women, and children of the Baker Fancher wagon train are disarmed under a false flag of truce and then murdered. An incomprehensible act of horror by otherwise good men whipped up by rumor, religion, and past wrongs. 20 years after the massacre, more blood would be spilled on this ground. But this time, it would not be innocent blood. Convicted in a federal court for his part in a mass murder, John D. Lee is brought here to Mountain Meadows. They camp overnight. The prosecutor then tries one more time to get him to turn state's evidence, to say that Brigham Young ordered the mass execution. Lee refuses and is shot by firing squad. The prosecutor never brought charges against Brigham Young. No evidence. And yet, 150 years after the massacre, the conspiracy theory is given new life by Hollywood.
Very little happened in that period of time in that part of the country that Brigham didn't know about.
That's just one of the myths of Utah history. Not true at all.
BYU professor Ronald Walker is finishing a book on Mountain Meadows. It's a collaborative effort with LDS church historians. They've had full access to church archives.
There is a pattern in his life of avoiding bloodshed.
The producers of September Dawn asked Brian Patrick, who made this documentary, if he would endorse their movie. He declined after seeing it.
It's very mean-spirited, I think, in terms of how it comes down on the Mormons, and particularly Brigham Young.
Part of his documentary includes the 1999 rededication of a monument to the victims of the massacre by LDS Church President Gordon B. Hinckley.
There is no question in my mind that he was opposed to what happened. Had there been a faster means of communication, it never would have happened.
The orders of those in authority are that all the immigrants must die.
Its accuracy and conclusions are dubious. Even so, September Dawn cannot be ignored. It will premiere on 1,000 screens in the middle of the peak moviegoing season. And the questions remain. Will it enhance our understanding of the tragedy? Or will it fuel prejudices that have burned even before the days of Brigham Young?
To understand the madness of men in any faith is important to us in order to prevent future holocausts.
This is a burden that these people have carried in southern Utah. Our hope is to be healers.
Walker's book should be out by the end of the year. The movie releases nationwide on June 22nd.
Is there any evidence that Brigham Young tried to prevent this massacre from occurring?
Actually, there is some evidence, and it's very well documented, that as things started to heat up between the settlers and the Mormons around Cedar City, that local leaders actually sent a courier up to Salt Lake to ask, what do we do? And Brigham immediately answered with a letter that said basically, do nothing, leave them alone. Unfortunately, it's a 6-day ride between Cedar City and Salt Lake round trip. No telegraph at that time.
And it was too late.
And when the writer got back, it was too late.
And we have to ask this question. Obviously, a negative movie about Mormons, bad timing for Mitt Romney. Did the producers say anything about this? Is this part of their agenda?
Well, they say no. They say this movie was conceived and filmed long before Mitt's candidacy, but they still say it's going to have an impact on his candidacy. Now, whether that impact is good or bad, they say depends on how Mitt reacts to the movie.
All right, thank you very much, Brent. Very interesting story. Now, do you have something you would like to say about this controversial movie? You can go to our website at abc4.com, click on the As Seen On link, review Brent's story, and leave your comments in the online forum. And you can also see John Voight's interview in entirety on that site. We'll be right back.